Good afternoon, everybody. Encik Wan Firdaus, Chairman of Young Malaysia, Corporate Malaysia, participants, esteemed speakers, thank you very much for having me here today. On behalf of Nur Salam and the children, I'd like to thank the Young Corporate Malaysians for making us their CSR recipient and partner. It's such an honor and privilege, and honestly, I hate giving speeches and I hate speaking, but this is something and a rare opportunity for NGOs such as ours who work on the ground to come up here and be able to advocate and, well, tell you what actually is going on and how you can help. I've been given half an hour, but those of you who know me know I speak for hours on end. So Teresa, if you don't mind, 10 minutes before my half an hour's up, can you just wave so I can tell everybody how you can be involved and what you can do for CSR, whether it's you on a personal basis or you can bring your company in. So 10 minutes before, great. I've been asked to speak today about what Nur Salam is, who do we serve, what are the issues, what are our plans, and of course, how you and your companies can get involved, or on a personal level, how you can get involved. How did Nur Salam start? I actually am one of your typical prodigal stories, one of your typical stories, the prodigal daughter who's been away for 20 years, living in America, who came back thinking I would stay a year, and ended up staying 8 years so far, and I'm not going back. I lived in DeKalb, Illinois for 8 years, and then the other 12 years I was in New York. During that time, many Malaysians approached me and asked me when I was going to come home and serve the nation, and I said, we don't have poor children in Malaysia, and I have a lot to do here in New York. What I did was I worked, while I went to school at Columbia, I worked with a not-for-profit organization working with underprivileged children, specifically with teens, gangs in underprivileged areas like Bed-Stuy, Ocean Hill, Brownsville, the Bronx, Central High School, Newark. If you remember the movie Stand By Me, where the headmaster went around with a baseball bat, I was there. So those were the kind of situations I worked with, and like I said, I never had a reason to come home to Malaysia because as far as I was concerned, what I understood and knew was that Malaysia was a rich country. We didn't have poor, starving children. We were not at war. We didn't have children who were collateral damages of conflicts and discrimination, so we were fine. And besides, I had this grand old plan that I was going to work for UNHCR, and had the background music and saving children across Palestinian borders. That was what I thought I was going to do. So when I came back in 2001 for personal reasons, actually my dad was sick, but I came back thinking, okay, I'm just going to hang around and see what's out there, and no plans to go back into not-for-profit. But what happened was, I got suckered back. I started volunteering for Yayasan Salam Malaysia, which is a local Malaysian NGO. What it does is it's very much like the American Peace Corps, and it does collaboration work and community-based programs, and what it does also is network corporations, NGOs, government agencies to community-based programs. So I went as a volunteer to work in a underprivileged daycare center in Chowkit. And on the very first day, what I found was 45 children under the age of 12 who were sitting on the floor with one sofa, 4 computers that didn't work, with no food. And this was a government daycare center. And I was just so completely shocked. And I said, well, where's your food? And where are your games? Where are your staff? They had one panyelia, okay, someone who oversaw the whole daycare center, and no food. And so what I did is I called one of my friends who worked at Nestle, and I said, please send emergency food. There are no snacks, there's no drinks. They had a refrigerator on it, was like donated by so-and-so, and you open it and it was empty. So Nestle was very, very kind, and they sent Milo and biscuits over to the children within 48 hours, so they got something to eat. But, as I stayed that whole day, I was supposed to stay an hour, I ended up staying 10 hours. You realize that there were lots of issues on the ground, and I'm sorry, but Malaysia, while it being a rich country, have poor children. And I found that there were 22 children who were sleeping on the street, most of them under the age of 4. There were children who were raped. There were children who were being taken away by the system. because they ran away from home. There was no fostering system, there was no homes, there was no nothing, and and they were being abused. And so what I did was I marched back up to the chairman of Nur Salam, and I said, you have to see this. The chairman, by the way, Mr. Rizali, who knows me for a very long time, so he said, you're being dramatic, and there's absolutely nothing to worry about. I said, no, come with me, and you have to see this. I said, how is this possible? So anyway, he said, I'll stay for half an hour, I'll give you half an hour. He stayed 2.5 hours and said, okay, Tini, your background is in education, you're a curriculum designer, you do monitoring and evaluation and assessments, build. Fill in the gaps, tell me what we need, and we'll go present to the Minister of KPWKM, which is the Ministry of Women, Community Development and Family. So I did. I built the model, and I said, we need a 24-hour crisis center for children. These are the gaps, this is what's needed, and this is what you have to do. So we presented it to the Minister, Dr. Sri Shahizad, and she approved in 5 minutes. But what she said was, we'll give you all the backing you need in terms of providing the license and stuff, but we just don't have money, so you're going to have to raise the money. That was in 2005, so I said, okay, this is the deal. No, that was 2006 in March. So I said, okay, this is the deal. You give me a year to find the funding to build this place, you approve straight away. And you can monitor, you can take all the accolades, you can take all the praise and stuff, but you let us run it, and this can be a collaboration effort between Yayasan Salam Malaysia and KPWKM. So exactly on the dot, April 2007, we opened the first center on Jalan Chowkit, which is Nur Salam as we know it now. When we started, we had 45 children, 90 children who were registered. Today, we're 2.5 years old. We'll be 3 years in April next year. We have 170 children who come regularly and 650 children who are registered. If you had asked me 3 days ago, I would have told you that we had 450 children, but in the last 2 days, we've got another 200 children that we need to find food and service and education for, so that's how it goes. So what is Nur Salam? Nur Salam started as a 24-hour crisis center in Chowkit. It started because of the need in Chowkit. We were having children who were, yes, in the beginning, children who lived in the area. And a lot of the children were children who had parents who were involved in illicit activities, a lot of them, but all of them were poor. All of them were Malaysian. But from that, we grew because it is the first crisis center in Malaysia, and it was the pilot project and a collaboration effort. It grew, and the needs grew. And what happened was the news traveled around Malaysia, so we started getting children dropped off at the center from Kelantan, Terengganu, Sabah, Sarawak, and the issues grew. Like I said, what we did was we started out saying, okay, we will provide 4 basic services: food, shelter, because we didn't want 4-year-olds sleeping on the street, health and education services. And what we meant with that was really just come in and play, do educational activities, health services. If we had to take you to the doctor, we would. That's really what we started with. But what happened was it grew, and we have something like 25 issues, 25 services now and growing, more than 40 programs. And we've had to work with, not have to, but we've had the privilege of working with other NGOs, corporations, and government institutions to try to solve the issues. What are the issues? Oh my God. The issues run the entire spectrum of what can go wrong when you don't take care of children. You here, I think there's about 650 of you. We have 650 children. So you are the best and the brightest. You had the privilege and you've worked hard and you had the opportunity and options to do well. These children have nothing. Absolutely nothing. Who are the children? The poor, urban poor. Yes, we do take in refugees. Yes, we do take in children who are stateless. Yes, we do take in Malaysians. As far as we're concerned, every child matters. And as far as we're concerned, they all deserve equal and have access to, well, equal and fair treatment. They are entitled to basic rights: the right to survive, the right to a nationality, the right to go to school, the right to ask you when they hurt and to ask you, please, can you take me to the doctor? The right to say, I have a right to play out on the streets and not get picked up and raped.